Good morning. It is Saturday morning, the first day, leaving Stranraer. I have two orders of business. One, stop at a little place to get some breakfast and pick up something for lunch. And then grab a bus to Portpatrick, where the trail begins. So today, because I'm coming back to Stranraer, I'm going to hike 13 and a half miles to a place called Castle Kennedy, where I can catch another bus back to here. So I don't have to carry all my stuff today, so my pack's a little bit lighter. And all I have to do is get breakfast and bus and hike back. Should be a pretty chill day. Weather-wise, it's looking nicer than yesterday, which is not hard to do. Only a 15% chance of rain. So let's see what kind of breakfast I can scare up. Welcome, friends, to the ridiculously charming seaside town of Portpatrick, Scotland. Just got the bus from Stranraer, and I'm walking along the seafront here to where the trail starts at the base of that hill. God, I love this so much. People, when I talk to people who live here, they say, well, why are you coming all the way over here? You're coming halfway across the world to hike here? Yes, I am. I guess none of us thinks of our home as someplace incredibly exotic. But if I took them to Bend, took them on a hike up into the Three Sisters, they'd probably feel the same way that I feel right now. So let's get this started, shall we? Okay, here at the official terminus of the West Highland Way in Portpatrick Harbor. Here by the old anchor and the Scottish flag, and the sign marking the start. So, gotta touch that and be all official. The way has been separated into three what are called marches, and this is the Western March. So, beginning with that, of course. And similar to the Coast to Coast trail that I did with Jeff 2 summers ago, there's a tradition there to dip your toes in the sea and carry a pebble across the country and drop it on the other side. Can't really dip your toes in the sea here. It's kind of cliffy and not really practical. So all I'm doing is picked up a little chip of stone here at the start, and I'm going to drop it off at the end. So here begins the journey, friends. 214 miles from here to the North Sea and the little village of Coburn Path. Wow, beautiful. And if you look off in the distance, see some land. It's not just any land, it is Ireland. That's kind of cool. Irish Sea is pretty narrow here. All right. I'm gonna go up to that hill and start to climb up it and see what this day brings. On to Coburn's Path. One thing that's noticeable right off the bat when I'm comparing this with the Coast to Coast walk, which is similar in many ways because they both go across Britain from west to east. They're both incredibly scenic. They're both national trails. But the one thing I'm noticing is a difference in energy. When you got to the Coast to Coast path start, it was electric. There were other hikers around. People were starting. There was a palpable excitement in the air. Lots of people on the trail. Here, it's Saturday on a beautiful day overlooking the Irish Sea, and I am utterly by myself. I saw a couple of local walkers going the other way a minute ago, but nobody with a backpack on. Saw no backpackers in Stranraer. It is a much less used trail. I won't say less popular because that sounds like it carries a value judgment. I think there could be some reasons though. The Coast to Coast path is older. It was established, oh wow. I don't know the decade, but it was established by Alfred Wainwright back in at least the 70s, probably before that. So it has a long-standing tradition, and it's incredibly scenic. It goes through Lakes District and a couple other national parks. This one doesn't do anything like that. I don't think it touches any national parks because southern Scotland is obviously beautiful, but there's not any of that kind of attraction that, say, like the Highlands or the Lake District has. So as a result, I'm out here by myself on a very nicely marked and nicely maintained trail between a golf course and the ocean, having a wonderful morning. And there will be places where I see more people probably, but I think the experience as a whole is one of kind of isolation and quiet. And to me, that's part of the attraction of it. First bird idea of the trip, the Eurasian oyster catcher. They built this path with a flair for the dramatic rather than the easy. Welcome to the trail. One thing about coastal paths in Great Britain, at least the ones I've seen, they don't mess around with trying to make things well graded. There's lots of steep downs and steep ups over and over again. I think when I get close to that lighthouse, I'm going to turn inland. So sort of like the Coast to Coast Trail, it follows the ocean for a couple miles and then heads inland for good. And I'm nearing that point, I think. So let's see what this little bit has to offer. On a bit of an extended lane walk here, about a third of the way through the day. Not a whole lot going on. It's certainly not as demonstrative or scenic as the first 3 miles were, but it is nonetheless quite pleasant and peaceful. And I think much of the rest of my day will be like this. Not all of it on lanes, but just kind of ambling across rolling countryside, which is just fine. One of my last views of Ireland and the Irish Sea. Much clearer than it was when I started. Pleasantly cool. So one of the interesting things about this trail is it has its own little system of hidden caches of coins that you can find. So there's 13 of these along the length of the trail, which are of varying difficulties to find. And I think that there's one coming up pretty soon. I'm not really trying to find all of them. If I see one, sure. But it's kind of a cool little side quest for the journey. So let's see if I find one. Reaching the high point for the day on Mullock Hill. Being serenaded by a skylark. And even though this is a national trail, I mean, There's no trail here in the way we think of trails. But there are signposts, and I have a line on a map. So you never feel like, oh no, I'm lost. It's pretty obvious that you're en route when you see this. Nice. Now head off this way and just look for another signpost. So that little symbol right there is a sign that there's a little hidden cache coming up. It says Ultreia, Ultreia, which is sort of vague Latin for, okay, go get your adventure, or take it to the limit, or something like that. These caches are called kists, K-I-S-T-S, and that means when you see that little symbol, there's one between this signpost and the next signpost. So let's see if I have any luck making that happen. I think I found it. Well, this is an improvement over the farms and the lanes. Here's the high point Mullock Hill that I was on back there. And I'm just going across wild moor country. A bit boggy after yesterday's torrential rains, but you're not going to get Scotland without some boggy. It's just part of the game. I'm passing a reservoir over here on my left, and we'll see where I go after that. All right, just finished my one break for today, since I'm about a little more than 7 miles in, and it's a 13.5 mile day here at Knockiossen Farm. I'm probably murdering that pronunciation. Looks like from here, I'm heading across these hills on mostly farm lanes until I cross the bigger road that heads south out of Stranraer. And I'll probably be able to see Stranraer here pretty soon once I get around this hill. But there's not too much going on other than that. It's a pretty simple day. Just look at your map, follow where it goes. What's going on here? Man, I could have had a rest spot in a chair instead of sitting on the grass. All right, onward. So this peninsula where I started is sort of shaped like a hammerhead with deep bays on each side. And there's a bay down there on the south. I think it's called the Bay of Luce, L-U-C-E. I might be wrong. And over there is Loch Ryan, and even though it's a loch, it's a sea loch that's open to the sea. And at the end of Loch Ryan is where Stranraer is. So this low inland valley between is all that keeps this from being an island. And I get to spend the next couple of hours traversing it. End point of my day is somewhere before the base of those low hills in the middle distance. The hedgerows in this area are formed by what my app informs me is fuchsia. I don't know if that's where the name of the color comes from or vice versa, but you can hear they're alive with bees. There is Stranraer. My hotel's somewhere down in there. And this is the incredibly straight lane that I'm hiking. Onward. Well, looks like I get a break from lane walking for a bit. Didn't see this at first, but this is the route on nice soft grass next to a field. Not for too long, but I'll take it. Nice little break in the day, if I can figure out how to open this gate. There we go. Guess I didn't need to open the whole thing, did I? There we go. Oh yeah. Isn't this lovely? Barley, oats. I wonder what that is. Onward. Something my friends Eric and Kelly from Colorado will appreciate. Bunch of horse farms right in here. Maybe you guys can move to Scotland. I can attest that it's pretty pleasant without 90-mile-an-hour winds. Onward. Okay, fair warning. If you're at all susceptible to cuteness, you need to sit down and maybe grab yourself a strong drink because you're about to get hit with a serious dose of it. These, my friends, are known as belters. They are Scottish cattle that are all black except for a white belt around their midsection. And they are floofy and chubby, and I love them. There's also a giant bull in their midst, which makes me very glad I'm not going through that field. Oh my, look at the floof. Whew. All right. That added at least another couple miles to my steps. In a good way. One of the many things I love about Scotland is the magical place names they have. All the different words that just sound like magic spells when you say them, but sometimes the names are just hilarious. I'm next to a burbling water course here, whose name is Black Stank. And I can't really get a good look at it on this rickety ass bridge, but since we're in farm country, it is entirely possible that that is an apt name. Black Stank. Don't think I'll be filtering out of that anytime soon. Getting into some woods just ahead, and from there it's just I think a couple more miles until Castle Kennedy. All of a sudden, farmland is behind, and these lovely deep woods are here. And I'm currently being sung to by two birds. A willow warbler and a common chiffchaff, which sounds like a made-up name of a British bird. Very pleasant. In my original planning for this trip, I was trying to figure out where to stop the first day, and I hadn't yet settled on the idea of spending 2 nights in Stranraer and taking a bus back from Castle Kennedy at the end of the day. So on the maps, I noticed this deep wood and this intersection. I'm like, this is middle of nowhere. I should just wild camp out here. And I probably could have. I mean, there's not a lot of flat ground or clear ground. I could have made something work. But all that being said, I'm glad that I have a nice bed and a shower and another lovely dinner at the end of today. On to Castle Kennedy through the mud. Just about to the end of today at Castle Kennedy. Just got to get to the road, find out when the next bus is. And there's also supposed to be a convenience store there, so I can get myself something delicious to drink while I wait, if I have to wait. All right, a few more steps. Let's finish this off.